Hey guys, Charles from Halt Boots here, and today we are going through my entire on-foot review of the New Balance 442 V2 Pro. So I won't lie, I had these boots for about two and a half months before I got around to wearing them, and I really wanted to do them sooner, but I just kind of got in the way of all these other videos I was filming and doing, and they kept getting pushed back, but I finally did it. I was really excited to try the New Balance leather boots because I tried the Furon V7 Pros and I love them. I think they're the best speed boot on the market currently, and they're very slept on. So I figured that New Balance wouldn't disappoint me with their leather boots, and that's kind of true. For a boot that retails at $130, I would say its direct competitors are going to be any, I don't want to say takedown or cheaper leather boots, but the Copa Gloros, the Nike Premiers, the Puma Kings probably. I would say the Copa Mundials, but now those are, I think $170, which is even crazy that they're that high price now. But for $130, you're definitely getting your worth, and I think it's a very fair price, if not too fair for these boots. So what's kind of interesting is that these boots have a lot of stitching up here in the forefoot, and they remind me of the older F50s, and I'll kind of show you guys a bit of what those look like. But I also didn't realize that they double stitch these. Apparently they have machines that they run these through that have 2 needles when they stitch all the leather together. Now, have I paid attention to the other leather boots before? No. So do a lot of other leather boots have this? Most likely this is just the first time I've ever heard of it or actually paid attention, because I look at the stitching, but that's usually it. I'm only looking at the stitching and then I'm looking away at other details of boots. So maybe it's just my inept ability to comprehend things, I don't know, but I thought that was interesting that they're really doubling up on and reinforcing all the stitching in the leather upper, which, you know, the more stitching in leather uppers I've found, the more durable the boots are and the longer they last. Along with this nice stitching, the upper is actually K-leather, which is nice because sometimes you're seeing goat leather or even calfskin leather for a lot of leather boots, especially around this price, but luckily New Balance went with K-leather and they spoiled us there because K-leather is always super soft and never disappoints. So this sole plate, and sorry it's dirty, I need to wash my boots before I do these reviews fully. It reminded me a lot of the Premier 3, and the only real difference is, besides obviously like the logo, there's a logo here in the shape and everything like that, it's a more solid sole plate. The Premier 3, if you watch my review on that, it just has a softer sole plate and you can bend it a little bit more, and it's really kind of hard to describe the material. I wouldn't quite say spongy, but not quite what I wanted. This sole plate though, absolutely perfect, and I was hoping that it would perform really well on turf and grass. So the inside of the boots come with a suede liner, like you see a lot of boots around this price range, maybe a little bit lower, a little bit higher, and the suede in these 442s are supposed to help you just with lockdown a little bit. I think it's supposed to grip your sock, keep your foot in, and keep it more secure. I wasn't really sure how that would work going forward with the review, but you'll hear more about that later and whatnot. But overall, nothing really crazy on the inside of the boot. So for the 442, I went with the normal size boot, meaning I didn't get the 2E. And if you didn't know, New Balance makes wide shoes and boots, and I want to say every other piece of footwear they make, because not a lot of brands cater to wide feet. So that's something that New Balance really prides themselves with. And I know a lot of people who have wide feet, like myself, have had success with wider versions. However, because it's a leather boot, I was hoping that it would stretch out and I wouldn't need that extra width per se. And lastly, I went with my normal size 9. It's usually just the size I go with in any boot to play it safe. And you know, I was hoping it would work out. Because I didn't get the extra wide version, I was hoping that this fit and length would be ideal for what I would need and the leather would stretch properly, and so on and so on. But that's all I have for details and tech specs on the New Balance 442. Nothing super crazy, but I just kind of wanted to go through everything, and now we're going to transition into the on-foot portion of this review. Like always, the first thing we're going to talk about is the sole plate. So like I said earlier, it reminds me of the Nike Premier 3 sole plate, except it's less flexible, which is good. That's at least what I prefer and what I think a lot of people prefer. It did pretty well on grass. It is conical studs and they are a little bit shorter, so they're not as aggressive. I did slip up a little bit here and there on the wet, rainy days, but again, that's going to happen when you don't have a more aggressive stud pattern on grass. On turf, perfect, no issues. Honestly, I don't even think they make an AG version of these. They might. I wouldn't bother. It's really a solid sole plate for turf, and I honestly prefer these on turf over grass. Really about as good as it gets for a sole plate. and I have no complaints. Now, if we move on to the upper, this K-leather did not disappoint. Like I said, it never does. Super soft, touch on the ball is great. Absolutely no issues, even with the seam, because I didn't mention this earlier, but it does have a seam because not the entire boot is leather. And oftentimes I found with boots that have a leather toe box, but not completely leather, that seam can get in the way. Like the 99-gram leather Speed Bortle really killed the vibe overall for me on that boot. However, can't feel the seam on these at all, which is perfect. And if I was looking for a leather boot in the range of $100 to $130, so the Nike Premier, the New Balance 442 or the Copa Gloro, I'm picking the New Balance 442. It wins by a mile and a half, honestly. And I can't talk about the Puma King because I've yet to wear those, but I'm pretty sure these will probably beat those as well, at least in my opinion. So overall, fantastic upper, leather's perfect. So if we talk about the lockdown with the 442, it's not the greatest. And I did find that my feet did slip a few times on the inside, and I think there's a reason for that, and I'll kind of get into that throughout the rest of the video. But they also come with these extra lace holes here, and these lace holes are just to provide a little bit of extra lockdown up higher, and I believe you can do a runner's knot with them as well. I know Noah Kavanaugh loves the runner's knot on some of his boots, and maybe I should have done that. Maybe that would have helped with lockdown. I don't know if it would have made a difference. Potentially, and I also did have tongue slippage as well, and tongue slippage is just, if you're like me and you have wide feet, the tongue just kind of slides to the inside of the boot here, leaving your foot kind of exposed and your sock kind of exposed, which is just something that happens with wide feet. And if I had to rate the lockdown overall, I'd probably say it's like a, I don't know, like a 7.1 out of 10 or so, just a C+, very average at best. So probably one of the worst things about this boot. So for comfort, I already hit on how good the K-leather is, but that doesn't really talk about the rest of the boot. And how I normally do my reviews is I will put the boots on wherever I'm at and just start training or jump into a game or do whatever. And I did that with these like always, and I had no issues at all. Didn't have to switch boots once, no pain, anything like that, which is really kind of unusual for a boot to just be able to slip on right away. But this is, I think, one of the only boots where it's had literally zero break-in time, which is pretty cool. And that kind of just added to the comfortability overall because I didn't have any pain literally anywhere. No foot pain, no arch pain, no heel pain, no blisters, anything. Like the comfort on these boots is a 10 out of 10. And honestly, it's probably a boot that I'm going to add to my rotation just based on that. But to kind of add on why that might have been and the break-in was so easy, I'm going to talk about size and fit. And one thing that I did not like about this boot is there is a lot of volume in the toe. And what I mean by a lot of volume, because when I first heard this term, I didn't understand, it means that there's just a lot of extra room after your foot's already in there. Now, these aren't the wide version either, which kind of surprised me that this was even an issue, but I just found that there was just more room everywhere. Not that they were too long, because maybe they were just slightly too big, because I'm always stuck between an 8.5 and a 9, but it really just felt like overall there was just so much extra room, almost like a bubble in the foot. And not anything that you couldn't play with, because I could still play in them just fine, but it definitely was noticeable if you just kind of sit there and are juggling or doing like just a couple little skill moves or dribbling around or whatever. So that was definitely interesting. And I don't think that the size 9 was a bad call, because it is always better to play it safe, but I almost want to try these in an 8.5, and I think I will get these in an 8.5 and maybe do some sort of update video and just kind of see if getting an 8.5 will still allow my foot to stretch, but it will also just reduce any volume that's in this boot. And that way I'll, maybe if it's a little hard to wear, I can still put my feet in them, break them in a little bit. And as long as length's not an issue, I'm wondering if actually going down half a size would be the case. Now, I don't necessarily recommend this for you, but this is something that I was thinking about doing, so I just figured I should tell you guys about it. If we hit on durability lastly, I wore these about 6 to 8 times, 10 to 12 hours. Not the best amount of time to really be judging a boot on its durability, but between all the reviews I'm doing and actually trying to wear them on my feet and everything, kind of just the duration I'm stuck with, but no real signs of wear or tear. I mean, obviously there's signs of wear because, they're muddy and dirty or whatever, but they're holding together really well. $130 for these boots, and they're probably gonna last longer than a lot of the more expensive brands' top-end leather boots. I would almost bet a lot of money on that, just because it seems like these mid-tier boots that have K-leather or some sort of leather just kind of hold together better. And honestly, for some reason, they're more comfortable as well, but that's a story for another time. So overall, my rating for the New Balance 442 V2 Pro is going to be a 8.1 out of 10, which is a B-. Now, that's not the best rating ever, but also I think it could be as high as almost a 9 or even like an 8.8, a B+, if I could fix that volume issue. So maybe going down to an 8.5 will change my mind on that. And if it fits properly, then I would say these boots could be even an 8.8. They check every box. They're very affordable in my opinion for what you're getting. They're very durable, they're comfortable. A sole plate you can use on both turf and grass. So if whether you're balling on a budget or you really don't want to buy turf boots and FG boots and all this other stuff, this is a good boot that I would look at doing that with. And you know, that's pretty much all I have to say on these. So if you guys like football boot reviews, if you guys like football boot facts, videos, all that stuff, check out our channel. We have a ton of videos up right now and reviews all about football boots. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It really helps us out here. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next review.